Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, we request the devotees to clear that space near Prabhupada. Maharaj will be coming that side for darshan. Then he will be taking back that way. So I request everybody to clear that space. He is on the way, he is in the lift. Please clear the space. And devotees are requested to keep sitting. Don't stand and rush towards Prabhupada or towards the altar. Maharaj will take darshan and come here. Please.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः 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 यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः यादवाय केशवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः माधवाय केशवाय नमः गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन मोहन श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता भगवत गीता श्री रूप श्री सनातन भक्त रघुनाथ 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 श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ रघुनाथ चिरूरुम रघुनाथ रघुनाथ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपा जय जय प्रभुपा जय जय प्रभुपा जय जय प्रभुपा प्रभुपा जय जय प्रभुपा प्रभुपा जय जय प्रभुपा जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरु जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव जय जय गुरु निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल 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 हरि निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल 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 निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Radha Krishna Jayo, Radha Krishna Jayo, Radha Krishna Jayo, Lalita Vishaka. Radha Krishna Jayo, Lalita Vishaka. Jayo Radha Krishna Jayo, Radha Krishna Jayo, Radha Krishna Jayo, Lalita Vishaka. Radha Krishna Jayo, Lalita Vishaka. Jayo Jagannatha Jayo, Jagannatha Jayo, Baladeva Jayo, Subhadra. Baladeva Jayo, Subhadra. Jayo Jagannatha Jayo, Jagannatha Jayo, Baladeva Jayo, Subhadra. Hari Bol. Baladeva Jaya, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gidivadadhari Gopijana-pallapa Giri-paradhari Yasodanandana Prajajana-ranjana Yasodanandana Prajajana-ranjana Jamuna-tīrā-panachāri Jamuna-tīrā-panachāri Jaya Radha-madhava Bihari Jaya Radha-madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana-pallapa Giri-paradhari Gopijana-pallapa Giri-paradhari Yasodanandana Prajajana-ranjana Yasodanandana Prajajana-ranjana Yasodanandana Prajajana-ranjana Jamuna-tīrā-panachāri Yamuna-tīrā-panachāri Jaya Radha-madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha-madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha-madhava Kunja Bihari Jayom Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacharsha Astotarasata Sri Srimad Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayom Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacharsha Astotarasata Sri Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananti Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Sri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Sri Dwarka Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Binda Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Deśa-kālārtha-yuktāni hṛt-tāpopaśamāni haranti smarataś cittaṁ govindābhihitāni me. Deśa-kālārtha-yuktāni hṛt-tāpopaśamāni haranti smarataś cittaṁ govindābhihitāni me. Deśa-kālārtha-yuktāni hṛt-tāpopaśamāni haranti smarataś cittaṁ govindābhihitāni me. space, kala, time, artha, importance, yuktāni, impregnated with, hṛt, the heart, tapa, burning, upāśamāni, extinguishing, cha, and haranti, are attracting, smarataś, by remembering, cittaṁ, mind, Govinda, the Supreme Personality of Pleasure, deśa-kālārtha-yuktāni, narrated by, may, unto me. Now I am attracted to those instructions imparted to me by the Personality of Godhead, Govinda, because they are impregnated with instructions for relieving the burning heart in all circumstances of time and space. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Herein Arjuna refers to the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, which was imparted to him by the Lord on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The Lord left behind him the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, not for the benefit of Arjuna alone, but also for all time and in all lands. The Bhagavad Gita, being spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the essence of all Vedic wisdom. It is nicely presented by the Lord Himself for all who have very little time to go through the vast Vedic literatures like the Upanishads, Puranas, and Vedanta Sutras. It is put within the study of the great historical epic Mahabharata, which was especially prepared for the less intelligent class, namely the women laborers and those who are worthless descendants of the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and higher sections of the Vaishyas. The problem which arose in the heart of Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra was solved by the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Again, after the departure of the Lord from the vision of earthly people, when Arjuna was face to face with being vanquished in his acquired power and prominence, he wanted again to remember the great teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, just to teach all concerned that the Bhagavad Gita can be consulted in all critical times, not only for the solace of all kinds of mental agonies, but also for the way out of great entanglements which may embarrass one in some critical hour. The merciful Lord left behind him in the great teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, so that one can take the instructions of the Lord even when He is not visible to material eyesight. Material senses cannot have any estimation of the Supreme Lord, but by His inconceivable power, the Lord can incarnate Himself to the sense perception of the conditioned souls in a suitable manner through the agency of matter, which is also another form of the Lord's manifested energy. Thus, the Bhagavad Gita, or any authentic scriptural sound representation of the Lord, is also the incarnation of the Lord. There is no difference between the sound representation of the Lord and the Lord Himself. One can derive the same benefit from the Bhagavad Gita as Arjuna did in the personal presence of the Lord. The faithful human being who is desirous of being liberated from the clutches of material existence can very easily take advantage of the Bhagavad Gita. And with this in view, the Lord instructed Arjuna as if Arjuna was in need of it. In the Bhagavad Gita, 5 important factors of knowledge have been delineated pertaining to the Supreme Lord, the living being, nature, time and space, the process of activity. Out of these, the Supreme Lord and the living being are qualitatively one. The difference between the two has been analyzed as the difference between the whole and the part and parcel. Nature is inert matter, displaying the interaction of 3 different modes, and eternal time and unlimited space are considered to be beyond the existence of material nature. Activities of the living being are different varieties of aptitudes which can entrap or liberate the living being within and without material nature. All these subject matters are concisely discussed in the Bhagavad Gita, and later the subject matters are elaborated in the Srimad Bhagavatam for further enlightenment. Out of the 5 subjects, the Supreme Lord, the living entity, nature, and time and space are eternal. But the living entity, nature, and time are under the direction of the Supreme Lord, who is absolute and completely independent of any other control. The Supreme Lord is the supreme controller. The material activity of the living being is beginningless, but it can be rectified by transferal into the spiritual quality. Thus it can cease its qualitative reactions. Both the Lord and the living entity are cognizant, and both have the sense of identification, of being conscious as a living force. But the living being under the condition of material nature, called Mahat Tattva, misidentifies himself as being different from the Lord. The whole scheme of Vedic wisdom is targeted to the aim of eradicating such a misconception and thus liberating the living being from the illusion of material identification. When such an illusion is eradicated by knowledge and renunciation, the living beings are responsible actors and enjoyers also. The sense of enjoyment in the Lord is real, but such a sense in the living being is a sort of wishful desire only. This difference in consciousness is the distinction of the 2 identities, namely the Lord and the living being. Otherwise, there is no difference between the Lord and the living being. The living being is therefore eternally one and different simultaneously. The whole instruction of Bhagavad Gita stands on this principle. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord and the living beings are both described as Sanatan, or eternal, and the Lord's abode, far beyond the material sky, is also described as Sanatan. The living being is invited to live in the Sanatan existence of the Lord, and the process which can help a living being to approach the Lord's abode, where the liberated activity of the soul is exhibited, is called Sanatan Dharma. One cannot, however, reach the eternal abode of the Lord without being free from the misconception of material identification. And the Bhagavad Gita gives us the clue how to achieve this stage of perfection. The process of being liberated from the misconception of material identification is called, in different stages, fruitive activity, empiric philosophy, and devotional service, up to transcendental realization. Such transcendental realization is made possible by dovetailing all the above items in relation with the Lord. Prescribed duties of the human being as directed in the Vedas can gradually purify the sinful mind of the conditioned soul and raise him to the stage of knowledge. The purified stage of acquiring knowledge becomes the basis of devotional service to the Lord. As long as one is engaged in researching the solution of the problems of life, his knowledge is called jnana, or purified knowledge. But on realizing the actual solution of life, one becomes situated in devotional service of the Lord. The Bhagavad Gita begins with the problems of life by discriminating the soul from the elements of matter, and proves by all reason and argument that the soul is indestructible in all circumstances, and that the outer covering of matter, the body and mind, change for another term of material existence, which is full of miseries. The Bhagavad Gita is therefore meant for terminating all types of miseries. And Arjuna took shelter of this great knowledge, which had been imparted to him during the Kurukshetra battle. Om Ajnantimidandasya Jnananjanachalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Hṛt-tāpopaśamāni Sri Guru Vaishnavaṁscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahakana Raghunatam Bitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahakana Lalita Sri Vishakānbitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Kopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We are reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, entitled The Pandavas Retire Timely, Text 27. I am very grateful to be back with you in Chennai, this magnificent temple. Shri Radha Krishna. My special gratitude to Sumitra Krishna Prabhu, His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj, for so kindly forcing me to be here today. Literally forcing. It's the nature of a Vaishnava's love and compassion to pressurize the soul to surrender. This particular narration of Srimad Bhagavatam gradually has evolved to Arjuna coming to the same situation, the same state of consciousness he experienced many, many years before on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Vidura was insulted so cruelly, with such deep envy and hatred by Duryodhana, his own nephew. His heart was broken. He had to leave his family, his home where he lived all his life, to travel without anyone, without anything, through the forest for many years. His brother, Dhritarashtra, Vidura, was always his best friend in the world. He loved him, he cared for him, and because he cared for him, he spoke to him, not just what he wanted to hear, but what he needed to hear. A friend in need is a friend indeed, it is said. What does that mean? In this sense, it means one who tells us what we need to hear, but tells us in a way that we hear it. Vidura saw the envy of Duryodhana, saw how his own brother, his elder brother, Dhritarashtra, who served at that time as the king, was so influenced by his son. He enacted the worst possible offenses. Now, not only standing before plots to discredit, to blaspheme, but to murder the Pandavas. And Vidura always spoke the truth to Dhritarashtra, where he was going wrong and what he should be doing right. But he did it in such a way that Dhritarashtra always kept him by his side as his well-wisher and his chief advisor. He didn't listen, but he knew that what Vidura was saying was correct. And even though he was put in very uncomfortable situations, he appreciated Vidura's being a well-wisher. That was Vidura's expertise. But it came to the point where Duryodhana insulted Vidura so terribly and literally told him that you get out from my kingdom and you can take with you only your breath. Dhritarashtra said nothing. He sided with the very personification of envy. Yes, it broke Duryodhana's heart. It describes the words of Duryodhana and the neglect of Dhritarashtra were like flaming arrows shooting in his heart. Tatenu kampam susamikshamano bunjana evatma kritam vipagam. He accepted it as Krishna's will. He didn't like it. At least it doesn't seem that way. But this is the quality of a devotee. That behind the sunny times and the stormy times, the dualities of pleasure and pain, heat and cold, honor and dishonor, happiness and distress, success, victory, success, failure, victory, defeat. Matras parashastu konteya sitos nasuka dukata agama payano nityastam stitikshasva bharata. These dualities are always coming and going, like the winter-summer seasons. We cannot change it. It's the nature of material existence. But a devotee sees whatever may happen, the Lord is always willing to give us shelter. Seated within our heart, never to leave us, just waiting to give us shelter. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papibhyo moksha mimasucha. In every situation, the perfection of our life is to surrender to Krishna, to the Supreme. Krishna promises he will protect us of all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So many things to fear in this world. Fear of nuclear wars. Fear of a mosquito biting us and giving us dengue fever or malaria. Fear of an automobile crash for ourselves, for our loved ones. Fear of disease, fear of death. Fear of failure, fear of being betrayed by our loved ones. So many reasons to fear. And they happen. They do happen to everyone. The threefold miseries of material existence are all pervading in this world. Sometimes they're manifest and sometimes they're unmanifest. But Krishna's always there to give us shelter. If we simply turn to Him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself in the mood of Sri Radha, giving us such an accessible, easy way in this difficult time of Kali Yuga to seek shelter through the chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. So Vidura, despite all these things, he felt his biggest suffering was not that he had to leave home. His biggest suffering was knowing how his brother Dhritarashtra was being exploited and how he would have to suffer. Paraduka duki, so compassionate. So he wandered the world, went to so many holy places of pilgrimage. He took it as an opportunity. I can just go on yatra for many years. When he was in the area of Haridwar, he met Maitreya Rishi. He met Uddhava. He learned so many things. From Uddhava he learned that Krishna left the world. The Yadu dynasty was gone. Krishna told Uddhava, because Uddhava understood what was going on. The Yadus were cursed by Narada Muni and other sages. He prayed to Krishna, I can see that you're soon going to leave this world. Please let me go with you. Krishna said, yes, I'm leaving very soon. But I want you to stay. I want you to go to Badrikashram. Because there's so many great devotees there who I never gave darshan to. Through you, you can tell them my leelas and my instructions, and they can see me through you. That is how Krishna loves his devotees. Uddhava was sent on many special missions. When Krishna left Vrindavan and was in Mathura, he told Uddhava, you go to Vrindavan to give my message to gopis and gopas. But actually he sent them to receive a message from the gopas and the gopis. The highest message of life, of what true prema bhakti actually is, in the highest, most intimate sense. And Uddhava understood, compared to the gopas and gopis, he had no love for Krishna, hardly. Although he was Krishna's dearest friend and associate in Mathura. He prayed, let me be a little clump of grass somewhere near Govardhan Hill, so that the gopas and the gopis and the cows and the calves and the bulls and maybe even Krishna and Balaram will step on my head with their feet. That was his prayer. So he was in so much separation from Krishna, offering beautiful prayers, telling the leelas of Krishna to Vidura. And then when he met Maitreya Rishi, a great section of the Srimad Bhagavatam is their discussion. When he understood that the Kurukshetra battle was finished, that Krishna had left this world, that his dynasty was gone, Dhritarashtra was still there. He was in Hastinapur. And the people of Hastinapur didn't even know that Krishna left. There was no internet in those days. There was no live streams. But those were good days. Things happened naturally, according to their own time. People actually had patience in those days. Rupa Goswami tells symptoms of surrender are patience and enthusiasm. So Vidura returned to Hastinapur. Why? Just to come back to help the brother, Dhritarashtra, that betrayed him, that committed so many terrible aparadhs. When he arrived in Hastinapur, Yudhishthira Maharaj is king. He saw his uncle, was so happy. He brought him, gave him beautiful sitting place, and praised him. Saints like you are holy places personified. Because the Supreme Lord is always manifesting in your heart due to your love and devotion. Therefore, anywhere you go becomes a holy place. After being welcomed by Yudhishthira, Vidura went to Dhritarashtra and very lovingly, like usual, chastised him. He said, look, just see what time is doing to you. The almighty power of time, which is under the control of Krishna, and under whose control we are constantly being influenced. Now, see what time has done to you. All your children are dead. Your brother, Pandu, is dead. Your father is dead. Everyone's dead. And you're so old. You've been blind since your birth, but now you could hardly hear. Now your limbs are aching. You're coughing mucus. And you're taking food from Bhimasena. You're living under the care of Yudhishthira Maharaj. You tried to poison them. You tried to burn them alive. And now you're completely dependent on them? Where is your character? What ignorance? You're going to die soon. Is this the way you want to die? The purpose of human life is self-realization. For the first time, Dhritarashtra could listen. Because Duryodhana wasn't speaking in his other ear. Because he had nothing to be proud of. He was in a completely shameless condition. And his wife, Gandharva, was constantly weeping in motherly love because all of her children were dead. Come with me, Vidura said. Dhritarashtra and Gandhari went into the forest, the southern part of the Himalayas, and there Vidura told them mystic yoga process. And after some time, they disappeared from the world. Meanwhile, the next day, after Vidura came, he was just there briefly, Yudhishthira Maharaj woke up. He's the emperor of the world. He had no challengers. They were all eliminated. He treated every single one of his citizens as his praja, as his own sons and daughters. Such love, such care. He woke up and he did his prayers, chanted his mantras, meditated on Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, performed a fire sacrifice for Suryadev. Then he went and gave charity of cows and calves and grains to Brahmins. This is how he would start his day every day. Not reading newspaper. Huh? In this way, he would start his day in the Brahma Muhurta completely immersed in seva and meditation on Krishna. Then every day after this, he would go to his elders to offer his respects. When he didn't see Dhritarashtra or Gandhari or Vidura, he became very much alarmed. Where are they? What happened? Yudhisthira Maharaj was so humble. Even though Dhritarashtra was part of conspiracies, leaders of conspiracy, to kill him, to burn him alive, along with his mother and all of his brothers. They cheated Draupadi while Dhritarashtra was sitting on his throne, knowing everything going on. They cheated him in a gambling match. They banished him and his brothers to the forest for 12 years. Yudhisthira, after all that, they were so bent on fighting this battle in Kurukshetra to exterminate the Pandavas and all their allies. And even when Krishna himself, on behalf of Yudhisthira, went to Duryodhana to make peace, they attacked Krishna to arrest him. Krishna manifested Virat Rupa, universal form. And still, they were determined to fight and to kill, to usurp the property of the Pandavas. Even when Yudhisthira Maharaj and his brothers asked for just 5 villages, you keep the rest of the world. They were told, we will not give you enough land to push the head of a needle through. Such abuse. But Yudhisthira is thinking, Dhritarashtra's he's my uncle. Gandhari's my auntie. What offense I must have committed to Dhritarashtra that he's left. He was blaming the whole thing on himself. At that time, Narada Muni appeared and told what happened is Vidura convinced him to leave. And Narada Muni said, in 5 days from today, they are going to attain liberation and leave this world. Dhritarashtra, through his intense yogic meditation, by the grace of Vidura, his body came on fire. And Gandhari entered the fire. And then Vidura just went to another place and departed from this world. Was Narada Muni is telling like this. The great sage Narada told Yudhishthira Maharaj that Krishna, he descended from the spiritual world into this world to fulfill the wishes of the demigods. And he has completed everything he came to do. He didn't specifically say anything. Vidura did not tell Yudhishthira Krishna left the world because he didn't want to make him sad. He didn't want to be the one to give that news. He understood in course of time everything is revealed. Narada Muni playing his vina, he departed. Yudhishthira Maharaj was speaking to Bhima. He was feeling an unbearable emptiness in his heart, but he could not understand why. Arjuna, 7 months before, had left Hastinapur to go to Dwarka to have an enjoyable reunion with his dearest friend Krishna and Balaram and the Yadus like Uddhava. But all these months went by and he still had not returned, and there wasn't a single message that was sent. He was worried. That's not the way Arjuna. He always reports to me. He always comes back soon to perform his duties. And then he saw all around him, wherever he looked, there were inauspicious omens. He said to Bhima, "What's happening? As long as Krishna's in this world, these things cannot happen. I'm seeing ordinary families. The family unit is a unit of unity. I'm seeing brothers fighting and husbands and wives fighting and quarreling over such insignificant things. How is this possible? This is so inauspicious. This is not natural." We think it's natural. Because of the influence of Kali Yuga. But when Yudhishthira was living, Kali Yuga was not really an effect, because Krishna was here. But now he was really seeing the effects of Kali. And he was seeing them according to his incredible vision. He said, "I look in the sky and I see even the stars are fighting with each other." And the sunrise, which is supposed to be the most auspicious, beautiful time of the day, as the sun is rising, I'm seeing female jackals howling and screaming and vomiting fire out of their mouths. He went on a list of so many inauspicious things he was seeing all around him. My whole left side, my thighs, my arms, my eye is throbbing constantly. And Arjuna has not returned. What is happening? He couldn't bear coming to the conclusion that Krishna must have left this world. He couldn't admit it. It was too painful to think of. But he was seeing all the symptoms that this is what happened. And as he's speaking, Arjuna returns. Usually when Arjuna returns, it's a very celebrated event. But now Arjuna His complexion is pale, bleached white. Tears are streaming from his eyes. His limbs are trembling. Just like before the battle of Kurukshetra. Yudhisthira Maharaj, in his heart of hearts, he couldn't accept the reality that Krishna may have left. He asked Arjuna, "Why do you look so sad? You look crippled. Have you been defeated by someone? When you went to Dwarka, because you stayed so long, did they start treating you like they didn't want you anymore? Did you not give protection to old people or young children or women when they needed protection and they turned to you? Did you not give in charity to someone who asked for charity? Please tell me. Are you in ill health?" Arjuna told that Krishna has left us. And all the powers that he has given have been taken away. Coming here from Dwarka, I was assigned to protect Krishna's queens. By Krishna's grace, I had such powers. They were his powers. I was able to defeat Shiva when he appeared as a hunter before me. I was able to defeat Indra. When the Khandava forest was burning, I was able to protect Mayadanava to devour the forest, and nobody could stop it. With my Gandiva bow, nothing and no one could defeat me. In Kurukshetra, there was an ocean of great heroes, insurmountable warriors like Bhishma, Karna, Drona, Salya. And yet, by Krishna's grace, I conquered all of them. But now, when I was trying to protect Krishna's queens, a small group of cowherd men defeated me. I was helpless. My Gandiva bow had no power at all. Arjuna, weeping, crying, bewildered, confused, is praising Krishna. All the great things Arjuna ever did in his life, he had full realization that it was all Krishna's mercy. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karamani sarvasha ahankara vimudatma karataham iti manyate. Bewildered souls think they're the doers of activities, but they're actually being carried out by nature. And for a devotee, mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. Krishna is the controller of material nature. Krishna is Parameshwara. the controller of all controllers. And now that Krishna, who was my dearmost friend, we would sit together, we would walk together, talk together, lay down together, we would eat together. Now he has left this world. Yes, Arjuna was in the same situation of bewilderment, heartbreak, pain, as he was when he was standing between the two armies at Kurukshetra. And because he was in that same state, karpanya dosopahatā svabhava, he ultimately tried to reason with his intelligence. He tried to use all of his own prowess to resolve this conflict that was within him. But it was not possible. Then he turned to Krishna. Please instruct me. And Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. In that situation, Arjuna, with the same state of heart, he remembered the words that Krishna spoke to him in the form of Bhagavad Gita. And as he was remembering the lessons of Bhagavad Gita and how personally Krishna spoke them, he felt the presence of Krishna again. His strength returned to him. He realized Krishna may be on one level he is gone, but through his vani, through his instructions, he is with us. The same enthusiasm, the same power he had, he gained simply by surrendering to Krishna in the form of the Bhagavad Gita. That is the verse we have come to today. And Srila Prabhupada, he gives a full 3-page purport to this verse because it is so very important. Srila Prabhupada often taught us there is Vapu, which is the physical presence of Krishna, the physical presence of our gurus, the physical presence of our Diksha gurus, our Shiksha gurus, the great saints, the previous acharyas. That physical presence has a very divine purpose that should never be underestimated. We should fully appreciate. Through that physical presence, the Lord's message is not only spoken to us, but we're getting examples of how to live it, how to follow it. Vani. Vani is forever. The transcendental sound vibration of the instructions of the Lord. Arjuna understood by following the instructions that Krishna gave in Bhagavad Gita, I will forever be with Krishna. Because Krishna did not just speak the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. Srila Prabhupada is explaining this in purport. He's speaking to each and every one of us. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hṛt-tāpopaśamāni Arjuna tishtati. Krishna is seated within the heart of you and me. That Lord who is within our heart is the speaker of Bhagavad Gita. And it's coming down to us through parampara, with so many acharyas who are teaching us by their example how to live the Bhagavad Gita. Gita tells jnana vijnana. There are two types of knowledge. There is theoretical understanding that comes through study, memorization, which is very important. According to our capacity, we should read these divine books Srila Prabhupada has given us and try to really learn and understand. But realization comes by how we apply the teachings to our life. Moment by moment, day by day, through seva. Arjuna, manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyashimnan namaskuru mami vaisheshi shatyam te pratijini priyoshime. Krishna explained this verse to Arjuna toward the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita. Always remember me. Think of me. Become my devotee. Offer your homage unto me. In this way, you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my friend. Arjuna was feeling Krishna's friendship. Because now when he was remembering Krishna as Parthasarathi, as the speaker of Bhagavad Gita, he realized he was with Krishna. And Krishna was with him. So yes, when we actually have the proper consciousness in hearing Bhagavad Gita, whether we're hearing it in a class, whether we're reciting it or reading it, if we're in the mood of sharanagati, of surrender, if we're in the mood of being the servant of the servant of the servant, then we will have this experience that Krishna has spoken Bhagavad Gita to me. That's the way we will all feel. And by the transparent via medium of Srila Prabhupada's mercy, he has made this Bhagavad Gita accessible for Krishna to speak to people in almost every language in the world, all over the world. The Bhagavad Gita is such an important message. Purport Srila Prabhupada is telling that in this age of Kali Yuga, very few people could go through the vast Vedic literatures. The 4 Vedas, the Upanishads, the Puranas, the Samhitas, the Vedanta Sutras, very difficult. But Bhagavad Gita is very simple. It's spoken within the context of Mahabharata, which are actually meant for very fallen people. Kalo Sudra Sambhave. In the age of Kali, everyone's fallen. The Srimad Bhagavatam declares that Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. But the great sages, they honor Kali Yuga as the best time. Because people are so fallen that Krishna makes himself so easily accessible. Through the chanting of the holy names, through Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada, when in 1922 he was given this message by his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, to go to the West to teach, not only the West, all over the world, and teach Krishna's message as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has presented it in the English language. knowing that English was the prominent language of the world. Srila Prabhupada, he made his translation of Bhagavad Gita. He had the first 3 volumes of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which we are reading from today. But those Srimad Bhagavatams, basically he was the book distributor. He was distributing to almost everyone. There was hardly a vision of anyone helping him in that way. If you could hear from the early devotees in 26 Second Avenue in New York City, or Frederick Street in San Francisco, or Montreal. Srila Prabhupada was giving out the books himself, trying to sell them. People would come and Prabhupada would give them prasad and get them to chant, and then he would say, buy this book. He was selling the books for almost a year in New York before he had any followers. Just going to bookstores, trying to convince people to take them. Anybody he would meet. But a little later, when the Bhagavad Gita was published, there's a beautiful story in Prabhupada Lilamrita of how Prabhupada really wanted his manuscript. He gave so much of his life and energy into this manuscript. Every word of every verse of the entire Bhagavad Gita, he carefully translated. He went through the purports of Baladev, Vidyabhushan, and other great acharyas and gave purports relevant to the world today. And Macmillan didn't really know how this would sell. Because some of us have experience. If you're an unknown person, publishers are not inclined to publishing your books. They like famous authors, celebrities. Prabhupada was unknown except for some people in the Bowery and a few people in Second Avenue. But yet somehow or other, some of his disciples, like Brahmananda Prabhu, they had so much faith in him, so much surrender to him. They wanted to assist him in distributing this message of Krishna. They somehow or other convinced these people from a major publishing house in the world to publish the Bhagavad Gita. But they condensed it. They made the purports much shorter, eliminated some, took out the Sanskrit and word for words. It's a little book with a purple cover. Prabhupada was very happy, but it wasn't what he wanted to present to the world. So that Bhagavad Gita sold so well, and ultimately by Srila Prabhupada and his followers' persuasion, and by the success of the sales, they convinced Macmillan to write the unabridged, full, everything Srila Prabhupada wanted to be in the book with all the illustrations. And he just had a few devotees living there, and they were painting. And if you look at the original Bhagavad Gita, it was released in 1972. The paintings were very simple. The kind of paintings your children can do if they learn art. But they were very pure. I'll never forget. It was around that time that Srila Prabhupada brought his artists a little later, but they didn't develop very much, to India, and they wanted them to learn. Prabhupada introduced them to Indra Sharma, who was one of the most successful, talented artists in all of India and all of the world. He would paint many of the S.S. Brijavasi paintings. He would paint, and they would make it into posters and distribute them by the millions. He was born in Natwaram. He was born to paint, according to these traditional artistic ways of Natwaram art. Years later, I met Indra Sharma. This is in the early 2000s. He told me that the greatest artists in all the world were the ISKCON artists. Whatever Indra Sharma would paint, they would make a photograph of it, they'd make posters, and then people like the Birlas and the wealthiest people of India would buy his paintings for large sums of money. They were given as gifts to prime ministers. He was the greatest artist of the country. And he said the best artists in the world are the ISKCON artists. He said even when they came at the beginning and it looked very childlike, their art, he said they weren't getting paid anything from anyone. They were simply painting out of love for their spiritual master. He said that is spiritual art. And even though they were so simple and not very materially talented painting, because they were doing it in pure surrender, Krishna empowered them to actually, even by material talent, to be outstanding, unparalleled artists. The greatest artist is appreciating their devotion. That's the real spirit of art, because that's the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. The very heart of the Bhagavad Gita. Don't be attached to whether you win or lose. Arjuna, just fight for me, for my pleasure. That is the ultimate victory. I remember I had just come from India, and I was quite confused also. And I heard Prabhupada was in New York, so I went to New York, and he was just coming in an airplane, and I went there with all these devotees, and there were hundreds of devotees from all over America waiting at the airport, and they were chanting and chanting and chanting and waiting at the gate. In those days, you could go right to the gate when a person gets out of the airplane, and everyone was coming out, and it was quite shocking to the passengers. They come out of the plane, and right in front of him was hundreds of devotees. Vishnu Jana Maharaj was leading the kirtan, and they were thinking the next person is going to be Prabhupada, so that every person was a roar. Everyone came out. Then the hostesses came out, the pilots came out, they closed the door. Where's Prabhupada? So then somebody said, he's coming from another gate, he's coming from this gate. And the same thing happened. Every person that came out, everyone, because they hadn't seen Prabhupada in years. Most of the people in that airport were Prabhupada's disciples. They were initiated, and they had never yet seen Prabhupada in their life physically, but they surrendered everything to him, and now they're about to see him. Jai Prabhupada! And people are... They're shocked. But they're like walking into an impenetrable wall of devotion and enthusiasm and transcendental sound. Everyone came out, the hostesses came out, the pilot came out, they shut the door. We were bewildered. Then somebody noticed Prabhupada came from another gate behind us, and he was just sitting on a chair watching everything. So when he was identified, everyone came running, and having kirtan, throwing flowers, going through the airport. There was a press conference. And I remember it was at that time that they presented Srila Prabhupada for the first time with that full, unabridged Bhagavad Gita. Which was so much his great wish for the benefit of humanity. Because this Bhagavad Gita was a perfect and complete representation of our Guru Parampara. And I happened to be a little insect sitting in the room, and when they handed Prabhupada the Bhagavad Gita, and with a big smile he placed it to his head and was looking through it. He was so happy. And gradually the distribution of Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada was so enthusiastic. Here in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we can get a clue, Prabhupada uses this word clue, of how and why Srila Prabhupada was so enthusiastic that all of his followers help him distribute this Bhagavad Gita. Because Bhagavad Gita is spoken to each and every one of us. Aham bija pratapita. Krishna is the father, the mother of every living being. Nitya siddha Krishna prema satya kabunoi. Sravanadi sudhi chiti kori gayodha. That love for Krishna is dormant within the heart of everyone. By associating with devotees, by hearing about Krishna, by chanting Krishna's name, that love is awakened. The Bhagavad Gita as it is Krishna's words, as it has been realized by all the great acharyas of our parampara. Brahma, Narada Muni, Vyasadeva, Madhvacharya, Madhavendra Puri, Ishwara Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Pancha Tattva, Nityananda, Gadadhar, Srivasana Dvaita, Swarup Damodar Goswami, Ramananda Rai, and then Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivasacharya, Shyamananda Prabhu, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baladev Vidyabhushan, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Prabhupada is giving the realizations of all of these acharyas. Their blessings, their mercy, their ecstatic love has been absorbed by Srila Prabhupada, and he's sharing it all with us. It's not just Krishna speaking to us, it's Krishna personally, directly speaking to us through the ecstatic mercy of the acharyas. That's Bhagavad Gita as it is. It was spoken for everyone. It was written for everyone. Vani. Krishna's present in Bhagavad Gita. Our parampara is present in this Bhagavad Gita. And Srila Prabhupada is personally speaking his ecstasies to everyone who reads them. It's association through Vani. As devotees, we have two ways of showing our gratitude to Srila Prabhupada. He spoke those himself Devotees asked, how could we repay you for what you've given us? He said, receive what I've given you, practice it, and share it with others. I remember during that visit in New York, when I was there, I really didn't know anything about book distribution or ISKCON or anything. I was kind of just coming out of India. And he was giving a class. And he said, when you are distributing the Bhagavad Gita, if someone asks you, please explain what is it about, and you say, I don't read it, I only distribute it. He said, who will take you seriously? First of all, you must read it, you must discuss it, you must understand it, you must live by it, and simultaneously distribute it to others. Then there will be power. The world needs examples to follow. I remember one of my dear godbrothers. He was living in a rural farm community, and he was in charge of the oxen. And during the summer, things only grow about 5 or 6 months a year, because otherwise it's winter like Himalayas. And during the summer, noontime is very hot. So the only time he could plow the fields and grow the crops with the oxen was in the morning and in the evenings. Otherwise the oxen would just they would suffer too much in the heat. So this person was getting criticized because he wasn't going to Bhagavad Gita class. So he wrote to Prabhupada, he said, what should I do? If I go to Bhagavad Gita class, we can't plow the fields. And if I don't go to Bhagavad Gita class, then I'm making an offense, because this is one of your instructions, to go to Bhagavad Gita class. So please instruct me. He was like Arjuna. There were like two armies. One side was saying plow, and one side was saying you are an aparadi, you're not going to Bhagavad Gita class. That's the way devotees could be sometimes. So he wrote to Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada said, when you're plowing the fields with the oxen, you are living Bhagavad Gita. But Prabhupada was careful, because it's an emergency situation. You can't be neglectful. And Prabhupada wanted that when the oxen were resting in the heat, he should read Bhagavad Gita. But important thing is we must apply the teachings to our life. And part of applying the teachings to our life is to be instruments of Prabhupada's will to distribute these Bhagavad Gitas. And throughout the world during this month, some call it the Bhagavad Gita Marathon, some call it the Christmas Marathon. Huh? Yeah, tonight.
Christmas tree, Santa Claus. Devotees of Santa Claus giving Gita. I was just reminding that devotees are like Santa Claus. People are expecting some gift. So devotees can just go to every house and drop a Gita in everybody's house.
That's why he is the president.
I just like to remind, be resident. P is only a post. President, P is a post. If you remove pre from president, it is a resident. I would like to be a humble resident of the temple.
It's Bhagavad Gita as it is. Thank you, Prabhu. Thakur Bhakti Vinod composed that historical prayer at the Samadhi of Srila Haridas Thakur. He reasons ill who say that Vaishnavas die. Thou art living still in sound. Vaishnavas die to live, and live to spread the holy name around. Arjuna is serving Krishna in viraha bhav, in separation. The ecstasy of his feeling the separation from Krishna's presence is giving the deeper internal experience by which Arjuna is surrendering to the will of Krishna. And similarly, the Gopas and the Gopis of Sri Vrindavan Dham, when Krishna left for Mathura and later to Dwarka, they lived in separation, this viraha bhava. When the devotees, Narada, Uddhava, requested Krishna in Dwarka, why don't you return to Vrindavan? He revealed that their love and separation, they're so totally absorbed in thinking of me, in crying for me, in serving me, that even if I go back, I will interfere with the ecstasy of that love and separation. And then if I ever want to leave again, they will not be able to survive. So before these verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, just after Krishna liberated Dantavakra, he went back to Vrindavan and he performed his beautiful Leela. What a reunion that was. Almost 100 years, or over 100 years of separation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us a glimpse into the experience of the devotees of Vrindavan. Yugayatam nameshena chakshusha paravrushayatam sunyayatam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me. For our benefit, because it's hard for us to understand the extent of time, it's translated, in your separation from Krishna, a moment, nimesh. Nimesh is the amount of time that your upper eyelid and your lower eyelid touch when you blink without even knowing you're blinking. That's called a moment. It's less than 1/12 of a second. That moment seems like 12 years or more. But actually in this verse it says, that moment seems like a yuga. Yugayatam nimeshena. And it's not just poetic. It's actually that feeling. When the gopis, even when Krishna's present before them, when there's a blink of the eye, they become angry at Lord Brahma. Why did you make these blinking eyes? We can't see Krishna. It's like a yuga passes. And here he's gone for so long. And he returns to Vrindavan and performs his wonderful leelas with the gopas and the gopis. And then he personally brings them all back to Goloka Vrindavan. And then he mystically returns to go back to Dwarka. What a difference for the Yadus, because they're Kshatriyas. He gave them a really Kshatriya-like departure from this world. And the intimate gopas and gopis, he simply performed his intimate loving pastimes and brought them all back to Goloka. And here is Arjuna teaching us how even in the most difficult times, even most challenging times, we could remember Krishna by learning from Bhagavad Gita how to be the servant of his servants. During World War II, when the Japanese were bombing Calcutta, Srila Prabhupada spoke in one lecture. He said the bombs were exploding all around. And he made the sound of the bombs. People of Calcutta were running, and there was air raids. And people going to the underground, taking shelter, and they said, Avai, Avai, come, come, the bombs are dropping. And Prabhupada was cooking puris. He said, you go, you go. He was smiling, cooking puris. Krishna has come in the form of these bombs. He's seeing Krishna. Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, for one who sees me everywhere and everything in me, for that person I'm never lost, nor are they ever lost to me. Krishna is in the heart of every living being. Krishna's expanded energies are manifesting as the whole creation. To learn to see Krishna. That's the message of Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna is especially manifesting himself in sound vibration. Param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. That is the conclusion of really understanding the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. That the greatest benediction in all of the world is that Krishna has manifested himself in his name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I will end by remembering the example of one of Srila Prabhupada's most intimate, foremost disciples, His Holiness Srila Jaipatak Swami Maharaj. He was one of those people who were with Prabhupada in that close inner circle, seeing his compassion, seeing his passion to be compassionate upon all living beings, seeing his determination against all odds to never give up, giving the message of his Guru Maharaj to others. Did any of you see the film that Yadubar Prabhu has produced? Please raise your hands if you have seen this film. In this film, we notice, if you haven't seen it, it's still 2 more days, so please go to this film. It's produced so beautifully. It shows when Srila Prabhupada, only in his mission, I think it was 1967 or 8, he had stroke, he had already had heart attacks. It didn't appear possible for him to live. He asked the devotees, please send me to Vrindavan. I will go to Vrindavan where Krishna and Balaram will decide if I should live or not. Radha Shyam Sundari. Temple wasn't there yet. He stayed at Radha Damodar temple in his little rooms. He went with only 1 disciple, and all the rest were just crying in separation. The senior most devotees were only devotees 2 years. Most of them were just for some months. And they were thinking, we will never see Prabhupada again. The Bhagavad Gita wasn't even published yet. There was just those 3 volumes of the Srimad Bhagavatam Prabhupada published in India. How to survive. And in the film it shows devotees are crying and devotees are praying and having kirtans, just little groups. And Prabhupada was in India for months because his health was practically finished. But as soon as there was some strength, he returned. And how it went from the most agonizing, painful presentation in the movie of all the devotees crying, empty hearts that Prabhupada may be gone forever. And then the next minute there's a huge kirtan and Prabhupada's getting out of the plane and he's smiling and he's radiant and he's distributing Krishna consciousness. So Jai Patak Maharaj, he was part of that. He's been traveling around the world, and he had a devastating stroke and so many other health conditions. But he doesn't complain, why is this happening to me? His only question is, how could I do more for Srila Prabhupada? Doesn't matter what condition I'm in. Let me share this message with others. That's surrender. That's shelter. That's living Bhagavad Gita. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maharaj, for enlightening class. Maharaj in the lecture he said, give, receive, practice. Most of the devotees here, I'm sure that you already have a Gita of Prabhupada as it is. But we always have in the mobile phone 2 SIM cards. So it's not a harm to have one more Gita. And to give your friends also. So we have a bundle of Gitas here. Maharaj just touch this Gita because we don't have time. It will be there. Devotees can take this Gita. It's a month of Margashira. Tamil also you can get. This Gita you can treasure it. And Maharaj is a living example of Bhagavad Gita, and you read this given by his own hand. Maharaj wishes to give the Gita in your own hands, but he has no time now. He has to go. But this Gita will be kept there, and devotees can have it. Also, we would like to, on the behalf of management of Chennai, to give Govinda a picture. Frame? The frame there, near the table. Table. One of you like to, devotees to mention that your visit to Chennai is very rare. You are forced to come here. Now we are again forcing you to come often here to give us mercy. So ISKCON Chennai would like to give you the picture of Govinda to Maharaj. Devotees can be seated. We also have with us Krsna Swami, and he will be giving the Sunday feast lecture, and that will be followed by the haranti. Devotees are kindly requested to be seated. There is another nectar from other disciple of Srila Prabhupada, Krsna Swami. He will be delivering a Gita lecture on the Sunday feast program.